What's up, football fans? Welcome into NFL Daily here by Chat Sports. My name is Moose. And yes, today we have the post-2025 NFL draft grades from Mel Kiper, the head honcho himself. I'm just going to let you know, some of these are infuriating to look at. Some of them kind of spot on. But before we get into the list itself, if you loved our Chat Sports draft coverage, do me a big favor, show your appreciation for our hard work and like today's video. If I could double thumbs up it, I totally would. Let's get into the grades, shall we? Coming in at number 1, the Cleveland Browns, the only team, by the way, in this entire list that gets an A+. Starting with, of course, Mason Graham, who came in with their first pick at number 5. Quinshon Judkins, love the value pick there early in round 2. And then at the very end of their draft, they take Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round. And then their last draft pick, obviously the biggest controversial one of all time, or at least for the Cleveland Browns at this draft at least, Shedeur Sanders. Next, the Seattle Seahawks, A. I actually thought the Seahawks had a really, really good draft. And spoilers, at the end of the video, they're one of my winners. But let's take a look at what they had. Gray Zabel, the versatile offensive lineman out of North Dakota State up in Fargo. Nick Emanwari, the hard-hitting safety who can kind of double as an outside linebacker. I love the Jalen Milroe pick in the 3rd round, followed by Riley Mills, the big-body defensive tackle from Notre Dame. And then Torrey Horton is easily my sleeper pick alongside Damian Martinez, who they got in round 7, which is a huge steal, by the way. I thought the Seahawks addressed every position of need, starting with their offensive line, which is one of the worst in the NFL, and they got significantly better with new quarterback Sam Darnold. The New England Patriots, A-. Yes, I thought the Patriots did well as well. Will Campbell is obviously one of those question marks because of his arm length, but I love the Travion Henderson one. Kyle Williams climbed up draft boards, followed by Joshua Farmer, the defensive tackle out of Florida State, who's got some potential upside. And then I also like the Marcus Bryant pick as well. I feel like he's an underrated 7th round pick that I actually had as a late 5, early 6. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops there in Foxborough. The Giants, another one of my winners. I loved everything they did, including, but not limited to, yes, Jackson Dart. Duh. Abdul Carter is going to be transformative on their defensive line. The Cam Scadaboo pick was amazing. The Marcus Bowe pick was awesome. I think the Giants are either 1st or 2nd on this list for the best drafts in the NFL. And the last of the A grades, the Philadelphia Eagles. Every single year, Howie Roseman finds a way to just take players that everybody either overlooks or has really high on their board. Jahad Campbell was that for me. I thought he was excellent at the end of round 1. Makuba is a great safety pick out of Texas in round 2, followed by Kyle McCord, who, believe it or not, could be one of the best backup rookies in the entire NFL. And it's not particularly close. So I loved every single pick the Eagles came in with, albeit they did do and double up on offensive line. Now, let me know in the comment section below. Which team had the best 2025 NFL draft? I'm not going to answer it right away because I'm going to save that for the end of the video, but let me know in the comment section down below. All right, the rest of Kiper's grades look like this. These are the B grades. Now, we are going to go through every single team here, starting with the B pluses, and that would be the Baltimore Ravens, but then obviously the rest of the B grades kind of look like this from Kiper. The B's and the B minuses as you get down further, I disagree with a lot of these, I should say. The Buffalo Bills, I thought, had a great draft, and I thought the Broncos were higher than a B minus. Also, the Saints at a B minus, the Saints deserve well below a C. So I don't know where Kiper kind of gets off. I think he just kind of lumps all of these together and doesn't want to be viewed as the bad guy sometimes. Either that or he's just delusional on some of these draft picks. But let's start with, obviously, the Baltimore Ravens. They came in with the first B+ grade. Now, the Mike Green selection, he was my favorite player in the draft. So this automatically is an A pick, especially for where you got him. I also love the Emory Jones pick, the guard out of LSU. I think he's got tremendous upside and potential. Then you had other players that I felt like probably are a little bit of a reach. Aeneas Peebles one of those players, from Virginia Tech. I know they got him in the 6th. There was a couple guys here at Chat Sports that liked him in the mid to late 4th. I'm not that high on him. I thought he was a little bit slow for my taste, but that's neither here nor there. The Chicago Bears. Yeah, I don't think they had a B-plus draft. I think they had a B or a B-minus. The Colston Loveland picked, I thought, was a little bit of a reach at 10. He's definitely a first-round grade, but I thought he was going to be available somewhere between 15 and 22. So I didn't love that. But I do love the value for Luther Burden III. The Ozzie Trapillo pick was awesome. They need to fortify that offensive line behind Braxton Jones, who's up in the air right now. I also really love the Kyle Monungai pick late in round 7. Fun fact, one of my favorite players to play with on NCAA 2025. Okay, the Texans coming in next. Jaden Higgins, a very, very solid wide receiver in round 2. You saw the Texans trade out of round 1, and I thought going out and doubling up the Iowa State wide receivers was an excellent move. Plus, Ariante Ursary, one of the most athletic and nimble offensive linemen in this draft. I also want you to keep an eye on the Jalen Reed pick in round 6. That's a player that I believe could actually be a starter, and not just a starter, but a high-end one as well. There's just something about him. He was injured a little bit, and a lot of people were questioning whether he had the ability to play at the next level, but truth is, I like him as a prospect a lot. Now the Chiefs. The Omar Norman lot one. Chef's kiss. Same with Josh Simmons. Obviously, after losing Joe Thuney to the Chicago Bears, you have to replace one of those positions on the offensive line. And Josh Simmons, to me, is definitely one of those players. Plus, you get Patrick Mahomes, another weapon in Jalen Royals. He was another player that I feel like had a lot of upside, especially considering his size and where he played, which was Utah State. Now, we do have plenty more teams to cover and all of their draft selections. But speaking of the draft, make sure that you check out our friends at Fanatics who sponsored today's video. Obviously, these draft hats are the sickest and the coolest I have seen in quite some time. So here's what I did for you. I took this link right here. I put it in the comments and the description of today's video. If you want to sport your favorite team's NFL draft hat from 2025, and look at how sweet that Bears one is, go ahead, use the link in the comments and description of today's video. I'm a big hat guy, always have been. I will be ordering one of these for myself for the Chicago Bears, which is personally my favorite team. But if you want to do so, in the comments, description below. Let's go next. The Los Angeles Chargers. Omarion Hampton. I couldn't believe he fell to 22. I thought for sure the Denver Broncos were going to lock him down at 20. Didn't happen. Trey Harris, one of the best vertical route runners in this draft class, has a great nose for the football. Love him at round 2. Then you get guys that I'm not as high on. So I would give this draft, honestly, a B. The Branson Taylor pick, I didn't like that one at all. And then obviously, attacking the lines, but also trying to get more weapons for Justin Herbert, which was their biggest issue last year. That clearly, to me, was addressed. So I can't go anything lower than a B or a B minus, but nonetheless, I didn't like the latter half of their draft, if that makes sense. All right, the Titans, obviously resetting their franchise with quarterback Cam Ward. But what the Titans did, I thought was actually really smart. They went out and they addressed all their other areas of need, but then went out and got another weapon for Cam Ward to use. Rookie Elick Manor out of Stanford, who's got a huge upside. Not a lot of great quarterback play there at Stanford. And then, by the way, not a draft pick, but an undrafted free agent. They signed Xavier Restrepo, his favorite target, out of Miami. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Then coming in next, the Commanders. I love the Josh Connerly pick. I thought Josh Connerly was going to be one of those players that could easily find his way into the top 20. Didn't work out the way that it did, but I also love the long, athletic Trey Amos out of Ole Miss. That's going to solidify that defensive backfield. They didn't have a lot of draft picks, only 5 this year, but they were really good last year. So how much better can you actually get if you make the NFC Championship game? Jaden Daniels, dude, we're going to be seeing your name in those headlines for quite some time. The Cowboys. Look, interestingly enough, the Cowboys, that first-round pick, I loved. A lot of people hated. He was one of my sleepers. Tyler Booker is a mammoth of a human being. I also really like the Donovan Ezeraku pick at 44. That's sort of a best player available because he slid all the way down to round 2. And then the best one for value, in my opinion, was Savon Revel Jr. Outside of that, I felt like the Cowboys did okay. I don't think they did great. I don't think they did bad. I would give this a solid C+ or a B- grade, which, believe it or not, Kiper wasn't too far off on. Whew, you still with me? All right. NFL content never stops here. That's just the truth. We're always pumping it out. So if you haven't already, help us get to 409,000 subscribers. We picked up over 2,000 during the draft, and hit that sub button today. The Packers, yuck. All right, Matthew Golden's a good pick. I'm not going to lie to you. The Packers have been kind of lacking a really talented wide receiver for quite some time. Christian Watson is talented, but he's always injured. Jaden Reed, a really good value pick in the 4th round. Romeo Doubs, though, that's where it kind of falls off. So adding another player like Golden is easily a very good find. Also, same with Savion Williams. Going to play more of a Cordell Patterson type. Then they tried to attack the defense a little bit. They went Micah Robinson, the cornerback out of Tulane. Also the defensive tackle out of Georgia, which was Warren Brinson. I thought these were okay picks. I would give the Packers a solid B, although it pains me to say it. Then the Colts. Colts were another team I thought did really well. I thought the Colts got a B+. Tyler Warren, great pick. JTT, great pick. Jalen Travis, great pick. Riley Leonard, if you mean to tell me that Riley Leonard can fit that Taysom Hill style of play, which, let's kind of be honest, Anthony Richardson already does that. Shocker. I feel like the Colts are headed in the right direction, especially under Shane Steichen, who clearly has a knack for calling plays. He just needs to get the right quarterback in that room. The Jaguars traded up to get Travis Hunter, which still baffles me to this day. I get that you're trying to get one of the most talented players in the draft, but to give up what you gave up, yikes. The Wyatt Milam pick is a really good one in round 3, followed by Jack Kaiser in round 4, another very good value pick. I thought the Jaguars did okay. I would have given them an A- or a B+, but to move up and lose draft capital, I think you get a solid C+ for that. I didn't like that move at all. Okay, the Raiders. The breakaway talent, the Heisman runner-up, Ashton Genty. They're obviously going to make an emphasis of running the football, even with signing Geno Smith. I love the Jack Besh signing in round 2. I also love the Darian Porter cornerback pick. He actually was a wide receiver when he started at Iowa State, has transferred to corner, and he is clearly skyrocketing in terms of value. Charles Grant is that offensive tackle out of William and Mary. 30 different NFL scouts from different teams went to his pro day. What does that tell you? They love his value. And then they went double quarterbacks, by the way. Tommy Millott and Cam Miller, which I thought was hysterical. Both out of the FCS schools, one from North Dakota State, one from Montana State. Man, this is a lot of draft to cover. But luckily for you, I was live every single day on Maine, so I was there covering it all. Let's go to the Jets. Armin Membu, good pick, solidifying the offensive line, and new quarterback Justin Fields, combining Russell and Justin there. Mason Taylor, the tight end out of LSU, trying to give him another weapon. I'm kind of low on the Azare Thomas pick. I thought he was really slow in his movements. I didn't really love that. The Tyler Barron pick is interesting. Keep your eye on him as a developmental player in round 5, the edge out of Miami. I think there could be some potential upside there. Okay, the 49ers went with Michael Williams, which I thought was an excellent pick. Same with Alfred Collins. Their first 2 picks get an A. The Upton Stout one kind of confuses me. I know that a lot of people are high on him, but I'm also one of those players that's kind of like, eh. Now, the Jordan James pick, by the way, is probably going to be that Jordan Mason replacement since he found his way onto the Minnesota Vikings. Curtis Rourke, I mean, do we really need to even say anything about 49ers finding those really, really talented quarterbacks in those later rounds? Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, just setting it out there. The Buccaneers got Emeka Egbuka in round 1. And then Ben Morrison. Love that pick. He's going to develop into a very, very good cornerback too, especially when that hip fully recovers. It's not going to be day 1. It'll probably be day 2. They actually doubled up on corner with Jacob Parrish too, which didn't make a lot of sense. And then their last pick was Tez Johnson, who a lot of people are like, he's super talented. Yeah, but he's 5'9", 154 pounds. For reference, I'm 5'9", 185. I weigh 30 pounds heavier than him. I could not get hit in the NFL and sustain any type of career. Just putting it out there. Then the Cardinals, Walter Nolan, Will Johnson, and Cody Simon in their first 4 rounds. Jordan Birch as well, the edge out of Oregon. I thought that was okay. I can't believe Will Johnson slid as far as he did. That must be one really bad knee injury. And then I thought Kitten Crawford in round 7, that's a nice little value pick as well. It's clear that Jonathan Gannon is trying to make that a defensive-minded football team, and I can't blame him. He's a hell of a defensive head coach. Then the Bills. Tell me how this is a B-. Maxwell Harrison, the best ball skills in this entire draft at corner. A. TJ Sanders, sleeper defensive tackle out of South Carolina. A. Landon Jackson, long, 6'7" edge rusher out of Arkansas. A. How could you give this a B-? I really don't get it. They also found Dorian Strong in round 6, who, by the way, has been mocked in some drafts as a top 4-round pick. So that one I just don't get at all from Mel Kiper. I think he's way off base there. I gave the Bills grade an A-. The Broncos, taking Jahdae Barron at 20 was kind of a shocker, but best player available, why not? That is a scary defensive backfield in Denver. Followed by R.J. Harvey, the kind of a reach here. Harvey was not projected to go until round 5 or round 6. He found his way in round 2. The Broncos must see something in him that they love, and I loved him as a prospect, albeit maybe not round 2, maybe like a round 3 or round 4, but reaches happen every single draft. Now, if you're still with us, because I recognize we are still going strong, and this is a doozy of a video, show us by hitting that thumbs up button. We're almost done, I promise. Do not worry. In case you are still with us, I greatly appreciate it. And if I could double thumbs up it, I totally would. The Rams, Terrence Ferguson, obviously trying to replace Tyler Higbee at tight end there in L.A. There was some kind of juice out there that Shador could end up in L.A. I don't think Sean McVay wants to deal with that at all. He likes grown-ups on his team. So I thought the Rams selections were kind of mid, so I actually kind of agree with this. B-, C+. The Vikings. I'm still on the fence about how I feel about this. The Donovan Jackson pick is actually pretty good, but they'll most likely move him inside to guard. So I'm still kind of up in the air. Ask me in about a month how I feel about the Vikings draft picks, because there weren't a lot of them, and I feel like they got some value, but not a ton. The Saints is one of the worst. Calvin Banks, I was never high on. Tyler Shuck in round 2, for real? Hey, listen, Kellen Moore, you do you, man. If you think that you can mold Tyler Shuck, who's about 85 years old at this point in NFL years, have at it, my friend. But I did not like the Saints draft at all. I found the only real position of value that they got was Devin Neal, and he'll be a nice complement to Alvin Kamara. Outside of that, didn't love it at all. Steelers, I thought the Steelers did okay as well. The Caleb Johnson pick is great. So same with Derek Harmon, who, you have to feel really bad for. Right after he got drafted, his mom tragically passed away. The Jack Sawyer pick is also kind of underrated, but then the rest of it, Will Howard, I've never been high on. So I thought they did all right. I'll give them a solid B. There was nothing wrong with how the Steelers performed in this NFL draft. And speaking of, I hate how he lumps all of these teams in with B grades. Like, you can give a team a D. You're allowed to. I hope you know that, right? You don't have to just sit there and lump everybody in because you want to be the good guy. Unless you actually believe that all of these teams got Bs, which I think after hearing every NFL analyst say this was a very weak draft class, nobody agrees with. So, to round out his grades, here's what it looks like with the C grades. There's only 5 of them. The Panthers, the Lions, the Dolphins, the Falcons, and the Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals should get like a L. Is there any grade worse than F, Mr. Producer, on the 1s and 2s, Brett Alper? Probably
no,
not.
there is not.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. There's not a grade lower than F. And if I could give one out, it would be the Cincinnati Bengals. So, obviously, we have to go through each and every single one of them, so let's do it. The Carolina Panthers coming in first, but I thought their draft started off okay. I liked the Ted McMillan pick. I hate the Nick Scorton pick. I also didn't like the Trevor Etienne pick as well. I thought that was a waste of a pick considering you signed Rico Dowdle and you have Chuba Hubbard as your 1 and 2 there. Then it gets a little bit better, and then it gets a little bit worse. Mitchell Evans is a fine pick at tight end, but Bryce Young clearly needs those big-bodied weapons to see over the offensive line, considering how small his stature is. The Lions, again, if there was the most irrelevant draft that you could possibly have outside of Tate Ratledge, the Lions had it. The Isaac Tesla pick was awful. Awful, awful stuff. So very mid there for the Detroit Lions. Okay. Couple more left. The Dolphins, again, I thought the Kenneth Grant pick was good, although they probably should have gone like a Will Johnson. I didn't like the Ollie Gordon pick. Quinn Ewers got drafted to them in round 7, which was funny as hell because his draft, reaction was just hysterically bad. And then the Falcons, doubling up on edge rusher. I'm not going to lie, I love the Jalen Walker pick, but to bump up back to round 1 to get James Pierce Jr., who not only has character concerns, but you also gave up a first rounder. So make it make sense for me. I love the Xavier Watts pick too, by the way. I think that's a really undervalued pick considering most places had him going in round 2 and you found him at the end of round 3. All right, the Bengals. What did they do right? Shamar Stewart was a reach. Demetrius Knight was a reach. Dylan Fairchild was a reach. Barrett Carter was right about on board. I mean, can we just talk about it for a second? You had to address defense, and I know you went with some defensive players right off the bat, but they weren't even the highest graded that you could have gone with. So you reached for defensive players that you didn't need to reach for. You could have gotten any number of other defensive players that would have been 10 times better picks than the ones you got. I didn't like it at all. So what are my winners? What are my losers? The winners, the Browns won, obviously, the Seahawks and the Giants. If I had to rank out of those 3, I'd go Seahawks 1, Giants 2, and Browns 3. And then the losers, the Bengals, they sucked. The Saints, they sucked. And the Lions, the most mid-draft I think I've ever seen. But if you agree with me, let me know in the comments section down below. My name is Moose. Until next time, be cool.